All right, you guys. So, this is like the 5 millionth time. Um, okay, here we go. So, hopefully, you guys see me on here. The ones that want a card, okay? Yeah, the ones that want a card, just let me know. I will go ahead and I'll be seeing if you guys pop on again, like the 10th time. I'm on my computer now because my phone, like, that's crazy what just happened. And it's okay. It happens. Not going to be a thing. So I'll just go ahead and talk about what I was going to talk about. Oh, there's Tammy. Okay. All right. Hi, Tammy. So, Tammy, first of all, hello, everybody, when you watch this. Because I have to like zen for a minute. Okay. Let me put Monica on here because I know she wanted, and anybody else that, whatever. Okay, Jake, I got you. I can't remember who else wanted one, but, let me do this. Okay. Let me go ahead and start this over and say the next week is the 5 day Bad Bitch Energy Challenge. And what it is, it's about identity, right? It's about really the core of transformation. I used to really wonder, or like I was on this intense, 6 year journey, 7 year journey of trying to figure out what happened to me, or like how things happened very quickly for me. And I have now figured it out, and I have a like kind of like a map for you guys to follow to do the same, to where you go very quickly from this place of suffering and thinking that you are trying to fit inside of this box of other people's expectations into your being in alignment with your true self, or like connected to that true part of you, to where you no longer are very interested in what other people think of you, right? However, you are also, though, learning how to receive love and how to do all those amazing things. So we're gonna try this again. And Tammy, I did pull 2 cards for you. If you want a card, let me know. I had a couple people that wanted a card, and then my phone kept on going in and out, like it just wouldn't stay. So I apologize for that. And we'll see whoever wanted it, let's see if they come back. Okay. If you want a card, they're going to go with what this challenge is about, right? It's about our identity and how we get so stuck in a certain, our reality is, we're filtering our reality through our identity, about who we believe we are at our core. And when you've been in toxic, relationships, or just conditioning of your life, we take on what other people think of us, their opinions about our decisions, about who we are, our parents and their morals and how they raised us, and religion, and all of these things that have formed our identity. They keep us chained, right? To, if you've ever heard yourself say, well, I'm not that type of person whatever. I'm not the type of person who has crystals and meditates. That's what I used to say. And so that was like blocking my, the flow of just what was trying to come through for me, right? And so oracle cards, right? That was another thing. I'm not somebody who pulls oracle cards, right? And this was really just a last minute thing. I wasn't going to pull cards. I was going to come on here and just teach a little bit, because this is a transformation training, but we're kind of like, we're spicing it up a little bit. And so if you want a card, say you want a card, Tammy, I already pulled 2 cards from you from the 5,000 other times I tried to go live. And the first one I pulled for you is Paul the Venetian. He is experiencing grace. Share your gifts with grace. Waves of inspiration and love are coming to you. And what's interesting is that it's a man, right? This masculine energy. And the second card that I pulled for you is Sanat Kumara, light activation. It's also a male. So there's a lot of masculine energy in your cards. And this was about shine your light. Your internal guidance is coming through loud and clear. And so to tie this into our authentic expression, right, in that badass bitch energy that we're wanting to cultivate. And with all of the, like, just the recent things that you have found out, Tammy, and I know you, like, on a personal level, I know you've, like, it's just so like what has come into your life recently and the news that you got. I think that these two are like, because I know how much in your feminine you've been really working, like the intuition. And just for anybody who's not clear, masculine energy is very structured and organized, and it's actually the container, creating the container of safety, the safe container with parameters and, you know, the logistics of whatever. The feminine is the flowy, intuitive, you know, nurturing, sexual, sensual, however you want to say it. So we need that masculine energy to show up in our feminine. That's how you can think of it, right? The container, and then we can show up in our feminine without being worried about, like, you know, what other people think, or, oh, is this person gonna, you know, what's this person's intention? Which, by the way, that was one of the key things that I did when I started to really, how I shifted so quickly, was that I stepped into this place of receiving, which, Tammy, I know that's what you're also, you know, you've, this place of receiving compliments, receiving praise, receiving love, and not questioning the person's intention. That is key, right? When it comes to healing, when we're questioning whether someone truly means something or not, or, you know, the intention of someone else, that's a waste of our energy. First of all, that's the biggest waste of our energy, is to figure out why someone else is doing something. And so if that's what if you find yourself doing that a lot, just become aware of it, right? That next week is really about awareness, about where you are at with how you see yourself. And so with these cards, what I am getting from these cards, Tammy, is that you're about to need that strong masculine energy yourself. And I know you do have a partner, I believe, in your life, but even you're a balance of your masculine and feminine because of what is about to come up. And just by your posts, you know, and how you're eating and how what the you know, I won't go too much because I don't want to share Tammy's business, but like health-wise, like what you're going to have to do, a structured regimen, right, to heal from what is happening right now, right? And so I believe that these are just calling you to really start to look into, how can I step further into my masculine energy, or where am I at? And I would say this, to first assess, are you balanced with your masculine and feminine, right? Do you have a hard time receiving? Do you have a hard time giving? Do you have a hard time trusting? Do you feel all over the place and you have a hard time organizing and having structure? Like, whatever it is, just know, like, get clear and assess where you're at right now. And then the light activation of you continuing, right, of shining your light. I really feel like when we have challenges in our life, we tend to, like, back off from showing up, right? Or when we have very serious things come up, and I've done this where I back off of, like, showing up and, like, talking to people, and I go into avoidance. And I think this is just maybe to shine a light on that if that starts to happen, instead of, because, and I know it's also, you're processing right now, you're processing news that you just got, and, like, it's very strong energy with you, and I can't even see your comments or anything, so I hope that this is resonating, but of really you just sticking to your practices that you've been doing, but then also to share, just because you were about to share your story about something else, right? We were about to step into that, and I'm kind of just, not for my own good, but yours as well, is to, once you feel, you know, I know how you're feeling right now, but, like, to continue stepping into that, and, like, also knowing you have a really huge community behind you already that you've been building, that is going to also pour more healthy healing energy into your space that you're going to need right now. And so just to use this is, like, who am I? This is a great identity question too. Like, who am I now with this challenge that's in my life? Because that's also what I think that helps us to show up more when we can get clarity around, okay, well, who am I with this thing in my life now that's happened? because it's a whole new ball game, something you've never dealt with. Um, and so, yeah, and I'm here to support you as well in all of that, and we can continue going with what we were, but also so really balancing that masculine and feminine. I just have a lot of the masculine, so I hope that that helps. Okay, then we have, I love you, Tammy. So much love going to you. I will be here for you, all the time, and we can continue with our plans whenever you're ready. And I love you so much. Okay. Then it was Monica. I believe it was Tammy, Monica, somebody, and then Monica. But Monica, I see you on here. I'm gonna go ahead and pull for you. And so if anybody wants a card, I'm pulling from the Keepers of the Light. And these are I actually have not pulled from these very much at all. So this is fun. And then Chrissy, I see you. Okay. Monica. Ooh. Holy Amethyst. This is a beautiful card. Holy Amethyst, Divine Alchemy. My favorite word, alchemy. Move beyond current challenges. Focus on what you desire. Okay, so this is your card, Monica. So Holy Amethyst, Divine Alchemy. I love this card. Ooh, I love this. So Divine Alchemy, right? So alchemy is moving from one state to another, right? So really, and I don't know your practices. I think you've been on the lives before with card pulls, but right now, what are your practices? Do you have your spiritual connection with your authentic self or your higher self? I always say whatever it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be God. It can be your higher self. And that's really what we're going to talk about next week. But have you been hanging out with her lately? Have you been very tied to your circumstances, identifying with what's currently happening? Tammy, back to the last one, that's another thing too, of knowing as a spirit, our spirit isn't tied to the things we're experiencing as a human, right? And I think that creating space between this is something, and back to Monica with your card of my current challenges don't define who I am as a person and my identity, right? We're tying this back to identity because next week is the challenge. And so are you doing that right now? Are you really, are there places where you're really stuck or feeling stuck or blocked because your struggles and challenges feel like you can't move forward. Either you're worried about what someone else thinks, right? Or how it's going to make you look, or how you even, right? We hold ourselves back for our own reasons. But again, it's that identity of the person who is that person, who is the you. How would you show up if you were not coming from fear? Are you coming from fear or love right now? We know we're coming from fear when we are afraid to lose something, or when we're looking at lack, right? What's not going to be in the place, or, if we're going to hurt other people if we do something, or by really showing up more as our authentic self, will we say things that someone else doesn't really like to hear? And if you're a recovering people pleaser, this is all, but this card is about moving beyond current challenges and focusing on what you desire. And really also thinking about how would that woman who desires this thing show up, or what would it look like for me to move beyond these challenges? And with the amethyst, right? The amethyst is purple, right? The third eye, seeing the unseen, seeing the possibilities, seeing of other things being true than what you're than the lack. And I always say that the amethyst also does help us too with shifting from lack to abundance. So I don't know if that's something you've experienced recently, of where you're focusing so much on what's not happening, where you're not showing up as a mom or as a partner or as a friend or whatever it is, a worker, and shifting your focus to, okay, what am I doing? How am I showing up? Okay, focusing more on what you are doing, right? And then focusing on what it is you really want in your life right now. Let me see what... Hi, Ashley. Hi, Andromeda. Hi, Brenda. And so, so Monica, when it comes to you moving beyond current challenges, who is that how would you move beyond things, or how would you move differently if you were totally confident in everything that you do, or if you were coming from love, right? And really asking that question, which is a really good question that I found in what we're going to be teaching or what I'm going to be teaching next week. So about becoming the most powerful version of yourself. What would my most powerful self do right now? And whatever, that's like a good question of asking. What would my most powerful self do right now? And not like my smaller self, or are you being the most powerful version of yourself? And asking yourself that, and if you're not, like, what's the consequences of that? What's keeping you from doing that? So yeah. Okay. All right. Oh crap. Hold on. All right, Monica, you want to, okay, perfect. I'll reach out to you after this. Okay. Okay. I'll send you your card too, because you guys can also use this like in this week, right? You can use this as like a guide of like, okay, but I think it's really about awareness right now. And I don't know why I cannot see any comments now. This is not, okay, here we go. I see you guys now, I think. Well, Monica, now I don't see your comment. Anyway, okay, I hope that helps. There's so much more that could come into that, and I hope it's just like not me rambling. Okay. Tammy, I got your card. Jake, let me get yours. Okay, Janelle, I know you wanted one. I think you did. Yes, you did. Sorry. Tammy. So Jake, I'll do yours. Janelle, and then Chrissy. Okay? Jake, Janelle, and Chrissy. Here we go. Okay. Jake. Diana, focused intention. Think about what you desire, set your sights high, expect the best possible outcome. That is also a really good tip for me when I stopped worrying about people's intentions. And this too is to expect the best possible outcome. And this is kind of like an affirming what our session was about the other day, of like how focused you have been, but your intention this time healing. I want to just say this of like, it's also the intention that you're having when you do something that creates the results too, right? That we get from something. And so, but Diana, focused intention, and look up Diana too. You guys look up the people on your cards, because that can tell you more too. Tammy is a good example of this, because she did this and like on another card that we did, and she just went to town, and a bunch of things resonated for her. It's all about the resonance. And so, think about what you desire. So what do you desire? What is it that you really want right now? And I think a lot of times, like, I want a lot of things. There's a lot of things that I want. But focusing in on, okay, just step into that energy of desire, of that feeling of desire. Like this morning I worked out and I raised my vibration, right? Because working out is just an automatic raises your vibration. And all of a sudden, like all of these downloads started coming in. And so I think we forget that when we get down into like the depression and the apathy and the sadness of things, we can get really like, we also, like I've talked about it, we don't attract that, but when we're in that vibration, we're not connected to our higher self. We just can't be, right? We're in our human experience, we're identifying with it so much that it limits us actually. And so, when you are taking care of your physical self, which that's what you've been doing, Jake, like I know that's what you've been doing, and now that's created, like you've used that masculine energy to create this safe container for yourself, and now you're just like expanding so much, okay? And I love that so much. And then to expect the best possible outcome for whatever it is. And I know this has been a journey for you. It's also a journey. It's not something that we'd be like, okay, I'm just going to expect the best possible outcome and that's all I'm going to do. Like, no, it's going to be challenging, and that's what you want to pay attention to, because then that's the conditioning that's showing up, right? So for you, like, I just feel like this is kind of like a validation card for you, that you're really on the right track. You are in alignment. You are totally in alignment with that authentic expression of yours, and you're choosing to be. I want to say that, okay, you guys? This stuff doesn't just happen. You have to make a decision every day of where you're going to place that focus. And I think that's what this card is really saying, of like, where's your focus today? That'd be a great question. And your identity, tying it back to it. Okay, there you go, Jake. All right, Janelle, and then Chrissy. I'm hurrying up, I promise. Janelle, Mercury, open communication, get a weight off your chest, speak up with love, and be heard. Okay, Mercury. And if anybody else resonates with these, go ahead, take it with you. And so he is, get a weight off your chest, speak up with love, and be heard. Now, this is Janelle, and Janelle typically does not hold on to anything. And I know you've released a lot of things off of your chest very quickly. It was that quantum leap that we are going to talk more about next week, right? That quantum shift. But is there something maybe that's happened, or maybe even with yourself, that you're like, because I do know dealing with like lower emotions lately, or just sadness, right? And grief, of allowing yourself to be in that space and not make it mean anything. Again, identifying with the sadness, because I did hear you say one day, you're like, I know I'm not like my normal self. And I think sometimes, again, the identity of like, you have evolved into this identity of where you are the light, like you're very, you are in alignment with your higher self. You're very like conscious of that, of being in alignment with love. I just want to clarify that when I say your higher self or authentic expression, I'm talking about a feeling of unconditional love. That's really what it is. But opening up that communication between you and maybe having a conversation with your higher self. Maybe that's what this card is saying, is that your higher self is trying to communicate with you, and that there are other things like weights that are still kind of, even just your thoughts, even any stuck emotions or sensations that you're feeling. And this is also when we're in sadness or grief, it's a good time to feel what's going on in our body. When we are experiencing like crying and emotional movement in our body, it's a great time to resensitize to all of that. So yeah, I hope that like whatever came out of that. I'm just kind of going on and on. And I hope that it resonates. Okay, Chrissy, let me go ahead and let me go back to what was happening here. Oh, okay, Monica, I see. I would like to schedule a call. Okay, yes. All right, Chrissy, here we go. And then I will finish my little training that I wanted. Chrissy. Ooh, Mahavatar Babaji. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but it's called Soul Expansion, and I'll show you the card in a second. Ooh, the throat chakra. This is a throat chakra card. And this doesn't have a book with it because I'm working on my intuitive skills by doing this. This is what I suggest to you guys. If you want to work on your intuitive skills, just get a card deck from Temu that doesn't have the book with it, and then you have to use your intuition to do this. All right, yours, Soul Expansion. Chrissy, your consciousness is expanding. You understand the connections between all things. And I know that you have had a very quick, I'm going to say if you shift under 3 years, 1 to 3 years into this from a place of like suffering and struggle. And I know a lot of us are in recovery on this live right now. When it happens very quickly like this, like I see that within you, like of how quickly it just kind of, of how confident now and how good you are in coaching and guiding others, but setting boundaries and holding them accountable. Like I really do look like I love that with you. I'm like, I don't see that. I usually see that later with coaches where in the beginning, but you're just kind of, I know it took a minute for you, I'm sure. You're probably saying it, but like it just seems you're very confident in what you do, and it's a soul expansion, but like you also use your experience a lot. Like that's, I think that where we work, right, is that is what, and this goes back to what I'm going to share next week, you guys, that it is about connecting with your experience and your past experiences, the lessons that you learned, and using them to serve others every single time. That is gonna, when you're doing that, you are in alignment with your higher self. You are totally in alignment with your authentic expression. That's what you're doing every time you share your story, and you don't share it from a place of like victimish or like I'm a survivor. I'm not saying you can be a survivor, but like that even has some, like, I don't know, different energy to it. Again, if this is something you're doing, totally fine. We will figure it out, right? And with shadow alchemy, we're here to heal our nervous system and on a soul level. And so, but yes, this Mahavatar, like you can look up the guy. It's also a guy, I think. And it's the throat chakra, which is all about self-expression and how you're speaking and what you're sharing. And so, yeah, your consciousness is expanding. You understand the connections between all things, and knowing that on a soul level, we're all connected and we're all here having a human experience. And I think that you totally, I think leaning into that, because that's also tied to that identity of your higher self, of that badass bitch energy. That's what I call it, where it's like that energy of confidence. It's that safe, you're like within that window of tolerance. And that's what's happened for all of us, right? Is we've done nervous system work, maybe consciously or unconsciously, maybe like on purpose or accidentally, meditating, breathing, mindset work, all of those things of expanding that our window of tolerance, right? Where we could like, this is an example, is when someone has a small window of tolerance or very narrow, they can't handle a lot of stress. Every time something happens, they'll fall back into old ways. But if you do nervous system work and you keep expanding and expanding and expanding and putting yourself out there and having new experiences, right? We all have had trauma, but to rewire the nervous system, right? We're all like, I just feel like you've done a lot of that work, Christy. So I won't go all deep into that, but you've expanded your ability to handle more things and continue showing up in your life. And that is very admirable. And like, I love to see that. So I hope so like when it comes to your identity, I want you guys to walk away with like a question or something you can ask yourself. Am I showing up in an expansive way today? Or what would it look like? What does that look like to show up in an expansive way? Or meaning to allowing things to happen, to be curious about things, to be expansive. And you're also a safe space for other people. So it goes both, being a safe space for other people and then also for yourself. Like, yeah, serving others, just, I think it's the fucking best way to heal, to be honest. It's like the number one way to heal when you're serving with your story. It's absolutely so. Yeah, and work on the throat chakra. If you do chakra work or come to my meditation class, I would totally do a chakra healing with you. All right, you guys, let me see if anyone else said anything, and then I will go on and talk a little bit about or 3 things I wanted to share with you guys tonight about how to release the past into the quantum field. It is so like powerful to just release something. And I have a lot of people coming to my mind right now that have really held on to things from the past. Like they hold on to it. Guess why? Because that's their identity. It's tied to their identity. Our trauma has been tied to our identity. And so when we want to really do intense identity work, the first step is releasing our past into the quantum field. Okay? So how do we do that? How do we really release our past into the quantum field? So when something happens that scares us, and then we do not ever get over that fear, we become traumatized. Let me just specify what trauma is first of all. Trauma is believed to be an interpersonal experience we have in which we were challenged and then lacked the skills and coping mechanisms to rise with it, right? Our safe space was invaded, basically, okay? And so trauma is not in our head, it's in our body. And this is what my students and what my clients learn in Relaunch Your Soul Academy with Shadow Alchemy. We do somatic work, right? We do the breath work, we do the emotional embodiment work, and you will learn all of that. We'll be doing some of it next week on Tuesday or Thursday, but it isn't in our head. It's not just in our head. I mean, there's thoughts from that, but like it's in our body. It is literally energy in our body and in our nervous system. Our nervous system was wired a certain way. And so this is the first and most thing we need to know in order to overcome it. Trauma is a legitimate physical issue, right? We store these emotions, energies, and patterns on a cellular level. So knowing that first, knowing that it is deep in our tissues, this is why also when we have kids, right, or when things become generational, like my mom experienced something when she was like a teenager, and it was traumatic for her, and it lived on within me and my sister, okay? And I'm sure you can think of something right now. Think of something that has been generational that your parents experienced, or maybe your grandparents or ancestors, and it has come down over the years. And this is how that happens. It's in a cellular level. At a cellular level, that trauma is in the body and it passes on to other people. But this is why I am a crazy person about shadow alchemy work, right? Is that we can use the ripples at the top of the water to trace back to the problem at the bottom, which is what we do with shadow alchemy work, and we can begin to use our body to heal. All right, so first we have to think about what are those traumatic experiences. And this is, think of something that was traumatic, but you do this by when you have an experience, and I'm thinking right now, like when somebody, so if you're a people pleaser, okay? And I use this all the time. If you're a people pleaser, or you're really into like, you don't say no ever, you have a lot of codependency, and it's really hard for you to say no, or to set a boundary, and then your body has a physical reaction to it, that is trauma, right? That is because trauma wired that. Because at some point you said no, you set a boundary, and somebody had a really high, a really intense reaction to that and treated you in a certain way. Maybe they scared you, something happened that taught you in your body that it is wrong and bad to say no, okay? So that is how that got wired. We want to figure out, and this is what I say too, is like, we don't have to go all the way back to we don't have to go all the way back to the very first time that it happened, but we do go into the subconscious mind, and this is called a shadow shift, to find that situation or that part of ourselves, have a conversation with it, and then we go and have a new experience, right? And that's really what we do inside of Relaunch Your Soul Academy, and my coaching, being a soul alchemy coach, is to help you to rewire the nervous system in that way, right? And to get over the trauma. However, there's, to heal this, we have to force ourselves to take deep, soothing breaths until the part of our body that was once tense is relaxed again. And really what it is we have to find our safe space again. We have to teach our body that it's safe to relax again. Okay? And this is how we release our past into the quantum field on an energetic level. This is why, this is why with like Janelle's a good example of this happening very quickly, because she found mindfulness and meditation, and she was just like grabbed onto it, right? And that's how I was, of like, when I found meditation and I learned to take my power back over my thoughts, and I got in the present moment, and I learned how to relax my body again, everything shifted. Okay, if you don't relax your body, you're not going to heal. That's just how it is. I mean, it's scientifically, that's true. You cannot heal if you don't know how to let go, right, of things or relax. If you keep talking about them, that's also going to be hard to talk. So that's the other thing that we do. So we also have to learn how to self-soothe in different ways, so like the meditation, breathing, all of that. The second thing, right, reinstate a sense of safety again. So finding what that feels safe for you, the root chakra, is a good place to really work in. And like today, you are in an environment, okay, when you're in my group coaching calls or inside of Relaunch Your Soul Academy, or you're in my coaching, like coaching or therapy is really good for this, where you create a safe space and you can learn what it feels like to feel safe. I didn't know what it felt like until I went to Turning Point, to be honest, when I just walked in there and started teaching meditation. And I was just like, oh, wow, I don't have to lie to anybody about all the things I've done. So when you can be completely on, like when you can just feel accepted, which by the way, it takes accepting yourself, and then you'll feel really accepted by others, but that, we'll get there. But finding what feels safe for you and knowing that you create that feeling for yourself. So, and then the third thing is to stop taking thoughts and feelings at face value. Your thoughts are not facts. Okay? To overcome trauma, you have to stop engaging in psychic thinking. When I first got on here today, I don't know if it was when my phone kept messing up, but I said one of the biggest things was when I stopped assuming that that I knew what the other person, why they did something. When I stopped trying to figure out why someone else does something or doesn't, I started to believe when people would, give me compliments, when they would tell me I'm pretty, when they would tell me I'm doing a good job, like I would just believe them, even if they might have not meant it. I didn't care. I just started to believe them, and that helped me raise my confidence, and I started to really see myself differently, and I started to believe in myself, and it didn't matter if what they were doing. But when we are stuck in psychic thinking, meaning that because of past experiences, we think we know what is going to happen in the future. When we stop doing that, that is when shit changes. That it always is. Hands down, that's the number one thing. So if you're in psychic thinking all the time, just because, that's what you've seen evidence of in the past, okay, well, let's find new evidence of that not being true anymore. And this is just so profound. Like this will shift things very quickly for you. It did for me. It did for Janelle. It did for Chrissy. I'm sure this is something that you worked on. Like Tammy, anybody that's on here that has done it like a very quick like shift and then healing. Jake is like you have to stop pretending that you're able to predict what will happen, that other people's intentions, which is what I said earlier, or that what you feel and think is absolute truth in reality. What you feel and think is not absolute truth in reality. It's that's just what has been your reality. You get to choose what it is moving forward. You get to choose what is true for you. So, so those three things, how to release your past into the quantum field, takes these 3 steps. I'll say them again. Okay. Number 1, identify what caused the traumatic experience. And this is really when you're going about your day and you have a trigger happen, or you have something like, oh, I feel activated. All right, let's look at that. And that is what you will learn how to do for yourself. Well, next week we'll kind of get into it, but these are absolutely required before we step into identity work. Because if you're held on to the past, you can't move forward very well, right? If you're held on to your past identity of who you have been, and we're so stuck to be who we think people want us to be, we're not going to be in our bad bitch energy ever because we're trying to please. We're stuck in that people pleasing. The second is to create a sense of safety for yourself again in environments, in your space. So like I have my crystals, I have incense, I have all of my, I have a safe space in my house. We want to create that feeling of safety. And then the third, stop taking thoughts and feelings at face value and start to question them. Observe them, become aware of them, but question, is this really true for me anymore? Right? And are you, and with that is the psychic thinking. Do you feel like you just know what's going to happen, and so you don't try. Like, oh, I know how this is going to turn out. Okay, yeah, we're manifesting that. We're manifesting the same stuff that's happened in the past in the future because we're expecting it to happen again. Of course it's going to happen again. I mean, that's just it. And so those are three steps. Those are three things you guys can really work on before we start next week, and really sit down and say, what is it I'm still holding on to? What is it that I'm not, what's still kind of standing in my way? Okay, so I hope that was helpful. If you guys have any questions about any of that, I will reach out anyone who wants to jump on a call and learn more about Relaunch Your Soul Academy, or just to kind of have a conversation. I mean, it doesn't even have to be anything about joining anything, but I'm just really interested in talking to you guys about your experience right now with, with self-healing and with your identity, and really stepping into your authentic expression and healing from trauma very quickly. Remember, we're doing this quicker than the norm. And so if you have been one to hold on to it because it's benefited you in some way, which is typically why we hold on to something, that's fine. No judgment, right? There is no judgment here. Just like everything is information. No good or bad. We just want to know what's happening. But yeah, I'd love to get on a call with you to see what your experience is right now. What is it you're struggling with the most, or what has worked for you really well in the past, right? Where just your story in general. That's what I'm really interested in learning more about. And then of course sharing with you how I can help if I can. So, all right, you guys, I love you. Thanks for being patient with the internet earlier. And yeah, I just really enjoy doing this, and I hope that something came from out of it for all of you. All right, you guys, have a good night.